On today's show, we talk about how fear can actually teach you respect. Let's go. Good morning, everybody, or good day, everybody, wherever you are. My name is Rob. This is Karen. This is Books, Banter, and Beyond. So today, we're going old school. Well, at least old school now, though I guess he's still writing because he just put out a book last year.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the master of horror, or the king of horror, no pun intended, and discuss why one of his books actually teaches respect. Now, we're going with respect because it actually covers a more personal topic to him, but I figured a better ideal behind this is why fear teaches that to us. So we're going to talk about Cujo. Yes, that lovable dog, poor guy, what are you going to do? So quick spoiler before we get in, we're going to talk about the book. So if you haven't read it, go grab a copy, come on back and join us for the fun. So for those who have read it before, you probably know that Cujo is about the St. Bernard that unfortunately gets bit by a rabid bat, goes on a rampage, and ends up basically terrorizing a small town in Maine. Fun fact, for those of you who don't know, Stephen King is from that state, so all of his books actually take place in his hometown. Take that as you will. The guy's a character. So throughout the book, we meet the Trenton family and their young son. The two of them are going through a little bit of a rough patch in their marriage. And when this whole thing goes down, and at the end of it, when the wife and son are basically stuck being attacked by this dog, they realize that, the marriage, how important it is, how important familial connection is, and how important it is to respect fear. Now, you've told me this. I'm sure other people have said to their kids as well, to have a healthy respect for that fear. And King does that well. If you know me, I read it. I don't know if you or Dad read it personally, but King, is read by millions of people. He's probably one of the biggest horror authors out there. But King does have a good way to make his characters likable, even the bad guys, whether it's Pennywise from It, whether it's the vampires in Salem's Lot, or in this case, the dog from Cujo. Now, before we go into more of it, did you read the book before? Do you know anything about it?
Actually, I'm not a huge horror fan. I'm the person who sits on the couch like this, and then ask, "Is it over yet?" And then I'll take my hands down. So the answer to that question is nope.
Nope. Well, that's fair, and it's actually it's the normal thing to do. I mean, I think psychologically, fear is part of the human psyche. It's normal to be afraid, but it's also there to kind of keep you on your toes. Right. It keeps you safe, right? It's your common sense working.
Exactly.
So really, there's two ideas to go through here. The first one is how the dog teaches that respect. Now, a lot of people look at this book and say, well, had the dog not be kind of, abused and left outside, we wouldn't be having this problem, right? If the dog was more family, if the people who owned the dog were actually more loving,
right,
he may have not run off and gotten injured. Now, some may say, well, he's a dog. They do that. I know ours do. Yours have. Ours in the past have.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, had the dog maybe been more cared for, there's the idea here of how respecting nature is equal.
Karma.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you never want to say that the people in these books deserve being attacked, but at the same time, they kind of do, because it's them who put themselves or maybe cause the problem. And, this goes off on a tangent, but if you've read any, mystical books, like, for instance, the genie from Aladdin, if you read the real Aladdin, the genie actually is a very bad character who purposely uses your wishes against you to teach you a lesson, right? So in this case, the dog coming back after being rabid is teaching you a lesson of, hey, had you not done this to me, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? And then secondarily, as I mentioned at the beginning with the marriage, when all this goes down, the one thing that the husband and wife in the book and in the film as well realize, that the importance is them. It's the togetherness. Now, yes, people were lost in the book and all this stuff happens, but at least at the end of the day, the two main characters, I guess, learn their lesson in a way. They learn from this fear that you have to be careful. You have to treat it with the respect. Otherwise, you could lose much more than just the physical, embodiment, right? So
Right.
how funny is it that a dog of all things, and
Right.
it's not really funny because they always say books with animals teach you the best lessons, but how funny is it that a dog is what actually teaches you
Right.
respect out of.
Everything else. I mean, the importance of everything else. I mean, the whole idea of fear, anyways, there's an expression, feel the fear, do
Okay.
it anyways. And because fear, I think, breeds growth. And
Yes.
if you don't have fear, then maybe your dreams aren't big enough. I mean, there's that whole thing of fear motivates us. Fear
Oh,
motivates.
sure. Yeah. And I mean, for me personally, you personally, people that we know, whether it's something you're dealing with or whether it's something you're trying to do, like a dream, if you're not putting the effort and you're not getting the negative back, you're probably not doing it right, or you're probably not doing it to your full advantage. And again, if you've read King or if anybody's read King, there's kind of that theme. Whether it's the movies you prefer or the book, the story remains the same. There's a bad guy, there's an evil presence,
Right.
and it's up to you to show. And it's funny to say show respect to the evil, but you really do. You have to show respect to the power that you may or may not be able to control, and that's how you learn from yourself. That's how you learn for
Right.
yourself.
And I think fear, that emotion, is uniquely qualified to help with the ideas of respect and trust.
Yeah.
Because when you feel the fear, and not to, I'm not, it's not that the quote, but when you feel the fear, you got to do something one way or the other. It
Right.
forces you to make action, right?
Right. And I think I wrote down a few, or you wrote down a few questions for me, and kind of what we talked about, but we'll go a little more in depth. So what do we
Right.
got?
So, let's just deep dive a little bit on the situation at hand, the book. How is that actually expressing the importance of family and
So,
connection?
so for those, this is a big spoiler. For those who don't know, the boy unfortunately actually dies at the end of the book, which is what brings the mother and father together over the death of their son. So that's probably the main expression there of importance. They realized that because of what they were doing, they lost a big part of them. But more in tune, I think, to the whole idea is you gotta give the familial the chance. You gotta give the family the heart that you should. It's not whether or not you lose somebody or you lose whatever. It's really, at the end of the day, if you can give them a hug, if you can say I'm sorry, if you can say, hey, let's work this out, that's the importance here of the connection. It's the fact that the two of them came together and said, hey, we got some issues, we got some whatever, but we still have the love. And that, I think, is
Right.
that's where the fear creates more of the compassion, I think.
And they experienced it together, which
Yes.
they had a choice, fight and flight, or they could make that choice, and they did it together to come out of it. And one might say, thank goodness for fear. It brought them
Yeah,
together.
exactly. And that's why I keep going back. It's funny to think how a evil force makes you happy at the end of the day, because you actually open up to,
Right.
oh,
And it
I
gives you a
didn't think.
perspective. It gives you a different perspective, I think.
Exactly.
Right. So, hey, Rob, I know we have some books in the bookstore that we want to share.
We do. So we don't have a copy of that, but we do have a couple of really awesome King books. So this is actually really neat. If you guys are a fan of short stories, this is actually his compilation here. If It Bleeds is one of the stories in here. But if you're looking for something, maybe you don't want a full-on book right now and you just want some quickies, I believe there are, I think, 5 short stories in here.
Hmm.
And if you've read his other short stories, he's really good. He's one of the few guys in horror that can actually scare the crap out of you in maybe 15 pages. So
Which is why I don't read them.
exactly, yes. So this is a very good one. Again, $9, super good deal, I think. So that's that. So the next two we have actually come from the Dark Tower series. I'm not even going to speak about the movie. But there's an entire series here. This is the drawing of three for 650, and then I think we also have
And we also have this one.
Wizard in Class. And really quick synopsis: it follows a young boy who basically is pulled into his drawing world, and he has to defeat the Man in Black, use the help of the gunslinger. I don't know where these names come from, but basically he has to save the world using his creations that he made as a child. Interesting storyline, very long series, but if you like the fantasy, you'll appreciate these books here. So,
and we encourage you guys, whether you want a book or a comic book or merchandise. We're wearing our T-shirts today. You'll see us in the screen. There's some cool stuff there. Take your QR code. We'll show it one more time in a second. I think the message today is it's about fear, but how fear can be used to create respect.
oh, for sure. And I know we'll be diving down that hole again and talking about it, but I think if you haven't yet read Cujo, give it a read. I know it's kind of a little bit of a sad book, but it's a really, really well written 90s style Stephen King book. So
awesome. We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.